Hey friendos, it's DW here. Want to do a quick vlog post before I crash for the night. This is a progress update for those that are new on my Game Off 2019 Game Jam submission, which is my first Game Jam I've ever done. And I've been trying to make a game for a little over a year now. And this is me really trying to give myself some constraints to try to force something out the door that is playable. And that is the goal. It's something playable that's related to some of the stuff I've done in the past. So before I get into some of these design thoughts, because I've been spending the last 3-4 days on just design of the game for the most part, it has shown fruit. So the last 3 nights I spent thinking about the design, and then last night I wrote out the first scenario in the ink script editor called Inky, but I'm using ink script from Inkle Studios, who's made things like Heaven's Vault and 80 Days, really cool narrative-driven games. Using that engine to write my dialogue and manage and do it that way and manage my dialogue that way, which is a critical piece to my gameplay that I'm trying to get out the door here. And tonight I managed to wire that scenario into Godot using the Ink GD asset library that has been contributed to that marketplace, which is fantastic. So I have everything working together, and I was actually, for the first time tonight, able to play my scenario in game. So not just through some sort of design console or in debug mode where it's just a bunch of code and guild gameplay events are going. It was actually the merging of design and development, which is super cool. I've never actually achieved that before. So right now, huge success on my part for being in this game jam. I actually got something playable, and that's great. That means I have about 10 more days here to wrap it up and polish it up and get something out a little bit more refined, ideally, and a little bit better. But yeah, I want to comment on was just a couple things that I've noticed about the last few days being putting on my quote-unquote design hat. More specifically, that design really takes a lot of discipline, especially if you're coming from a development background. I love code. Design is not my strong suit. It's not something I've been doing for 15 years like it has been with software development. So being in a purely design-centric tool set, no code, just a text editor, specific on Inky, right, for InkScript, was challenging. And my brain kept going back to those technical issues and thinking about how the tooling works and how I can improve the tooling, but things that are just completely out of scope for the game jam. So I was able to really focus down on the design, and then after thinking about it for a couple of days and getting into it for one full night, I did manage to actually boil the idea down even further, which is awesome, to the most minute bit of gameplay. And that's actually how this whole thing was possible tonight for me to wire it up. It is the tiniest, babiest, whatever that means, the smallest unit of gameplay I could possibly make. And it wired up and working, so now I can build off that. So I have my first step, and I want to refine that idea a little bit further. And so yeah, it's just, I wanted to highlight how critical focusing in on your design is, and actually spending the time. If you're coming from a dev background or wherever you're coming from, really focus in on the design pieces. Like really think about that and how you can. And think about it from your design pipeline, right? Like how your ideas will turn into scope and work for others, whether it's yourself, if you're a solo or a team. But that design, I really respect how challenging game design can actually be while you're trying to roll this stuff out. I thought I understood it before, but now I've actually experienced it in a very small capacity. I'm no AAA or established indie developer, but actually seeing this thing take shape and get it boiled down so I can actually experiment with the idea now and get this done for the game jam and actually play around with this idea a little bit more. That's really cool. Do I know it's going to show fruit at the end? I don't know. I see a bunch of design flaws in like I said, the babiest of all of the gameplay mechanics that I have, the smallest unit of it. But that doesn't mean it's a bad idea. And I still think there's something there. I just need to refine it and work on it. Now that I have that, I can. And that's all thanks to me putting that design hat on and moving forward. But yeah, the second thing I realized out of this little exercise for doing design and working within the designers kind of wearing the design hat is the usefulness of custom game development tools. Every engine provides some form of custom tooling, so you can write these little custom tools for your game development environment. Unity provides them for sure. I know Unreal is working on it, if not already there, and Godot also provides an interface for that. And I never understood why. I understood the idea of, like, isn't that pulling resources away from your game? And there's the idea of tool developers in AAA studios, and then in fact in Winnipeg here, there is a whole Ubisoft studio dedicated to tooling. And I never understood that 100%. I knew there were problems that needed to be solved, but now I really do understand, even on the smallest scale. Custom tools will enable you to improve your design and development pipeline for your game, therefore ideally making it more original than what just comes out of the box from the engine. A game engine gives you a great foundation, but you're gonna need to do some custom pieces to it, whether that's art or narrative or design or graphics or in-engine work. You're gonna need something that makes it different. Otherwise, you're just working with out-of-the-box components, and you're not innovating on what's already out there. Because if the game engines are about as generic as they can get, and games are so unique, and there's no limits to what you can do with your game, other than what constraints you can put on yourself technologically or artistically or anything, or financially. But yeah, I just have a whole new level of respect for designers and the idea of custom tooling for your design and art and media content production teams, along with your development teams, and about why there might be something very specific you need them to do to give your game that, to give it that hook. But that's all I got for you tonight. I'm gonna go finish this up and then go to bed because it's important to sleep. And have yourselves a pleasant day and or evening, and take care of yourself.